this video, we're going to be learning about absolute value and how to solve expressions and equations using it. So absolute value is denoted by these brackets here. So if we have a number, say 3, what absolute value tells you is that whatever value you have inside of those absolute value signs must be a positive value or a non-negative value. So if we had negative 3 inside of absolute value, we have to make that a positive number. So that number would then in turn be 3. And this is going to be for all values. So if we had something, say like negative 123, if we had absolute values on that, that is going to turn this into a positive value of 123. However, if we have a negative symbol outside of that absolute value, we would be solving for what is inside first. So we would have a negative, then inside of our absolute value, we're going to make that positive. So we'd have 123. But since that negative is on the outside, then we would have to actually convert this in. So just remember that anything that is within the absolute value is what you convert. If it is outside, we're not going to convert that number. So let's solve this expression using absolute value. We have absolute value of 3x minus 2, and we're actually going to be plugging in 5 into x right here. So that's going to be absolute value of 3 times 5 minus 2 in absolute. If we simplify that, that's going to give us absolute value of 15 minus 2. And because we have a minus inside of it, we have to think of this in terms of PEMDAS, where we actually could think of we have parentheses inside. We need to simplify this before we can actually then take the absolute value. 15 minus 2 is going to give us 13. Since this is an absolute value, that's going to mean that we just must have a positive or a non-zero answer, so it'll be 13. So let's take a look at this example where we solve an equation. When we have absolute value and we're trying to solve for something, we have to think about this 13. Remember now, we said that if we have some sort of value in absolute, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to give us a value on the other side. So what that means is that this value here for A could be either positive or it could be negative. Same with this 13 here. So what we're going to see is we're going to have two answers. We're going to have one for we have positive 13 as an answer, and one value where we're going to have negative 13 as an answer. If we solve for this, we're going to have 2x minus 3 on the side, and because we separated it into two different instances, we can go ahead and remove the absolute value for solving this. We have 2x minus 3. That means we're also going to have 2x minus 3 for here, with one value being positive 13 and one value being negative 13. If we solve for this one, we're going to get that 2x is equal to 10. So x is going to be equal to 5. So solving for this one, we're going to add 3 on this side and add 3 on this side. We'll get that 2x is equal to 16. Dividing by 2, we'll get that x is equal to 8. Now solving for this one here on the right, we're going to add 3 on both sides. But this time it's going to give us 2x is equal to negative 10. So if we solve for x, that's going to give us a value of negative 5. So we'll have two values in for x. Now it's always important when you solve using absolute value to plug those values back in and check. So if we plug in 8, we're going to get that absolute value of 2 times 8 minus 3 should be equal to 13. Well, this is going to simplify to 16 minus 3 is equal to 13. So we get that 13 in parentheses is going to be equal to 13. So that checks out. If we solve for the other one, we're going to have absolute value of 2 times negative 5 minus 3 is equal to 13. That will simplify to negative 10 minus 3, which simplifies to negative 13 in absolute value is equal to 13. So therefore 13 is equal to 13, and that checks out as well. So we have two answers for this question. Taking a look at this problem, we actually see that we have an expression here on the right side. So again, when we're trying to find those two solutions, a positive and a negative value, we're going to have to see this where we have a positive of this expression 4x minus 5. And then we're also going to have to see where we have a negative. So we'll have negative 4x minus 5. And that must be in parentheses. So then we can solve for this. We'd have x plus 10 is equal to this expression. And we'd have x plus 10 is equal to this expression. We can solve for this one by minus x on both sides. If we do that, then we'll have to add 5 on this side as well. So we'll get that 15 is equal to 3x, where we get that x is equal to 5. Now if we solve for this one, we're going to get x plus 10 is equal to negative 4x plus 5. I'm going to add 4x on both sides, and then we're going to subtract 10 on both sides as well. So we'll get that 5x is equal to negative 5. So x is equal to negative 1. Now if we plug 5 into our equation, we're going to get 5 plus 10 in absolute value is equal to 4 times 5 minus 5. This will give us 15 is equal to 20 minus 5. So therefore we get 15 is equal to 15. That checks out. Now let's plug it in for negative 1. We're going to plug it here at the top, so we have negative 1 plus 10 in absolute value is equal to 4 times negative 1 minus 5. That will give us 9 is equal to negative 4 minus 5. And therefore we get 9 is equal to negative 9. That does not equal the same thing, so therefore this cannot be a solution. The reason why is because plugging this in will give us a negative value. We must have it equal the same value on both sides, so there is one solution here for x is equal to 5. To solve this equation, since we have an absolute value plus a numerical number, we have to move this numerical number to the other side. We have to have absolute value by itself so that we can solve for x. If we do this, we're going to subtract 8 on both sides, and we're going to get that 3x minus 2 is equal to negative 7. However, if you remember, anytime we take absolute value of some sort of number, it always has to be a positive value. You'll notice here that we have a negative value for our answer. That cannot happen. Therefore, there is no solution to this problem. We must have a positive solution on our other side of the equation. So solving using absolute value, we have a regulation soccer ball should weigh 430 grams, plus or minus 20 grams. What is the equation for the acceptable weight range of the soccer ball? So we can see this in terms of a number line, where in the middle we're going to have that 430 grams. But we have to take into account that a soccer ball could weigh 20 grams more at most, which would be 450, and then minus 20, which would be 410. So this soccer ball must exist within these two parameters. And that weight, which we can call W, could be here, could be right at 450, could be right at 430, could be somewhere in between. It could be any of these values. So when we write the equation, we have to think in terms of absolute value. We could see it in terms of the weight of that soccer ball, minus whatever that middle number is, the middle ground. And then what we want to see is that that weight has to be less than or equal to a range of 20, plus or minus 20. And that would be the equation for this.